Okay, let me give you some background before we talk about this this comment here. So here recently, I spotlighted a video from a young woman who made the video from, I'm assuming, her local park. She was at the park with her kids. Nobody else was at the park. She was parked in one of the handicap spots closest to the park. And she was recording this because somebody else had recently arrived to the park who had who was handicapped or differently abled, whatever. I don't know what the correct terminology is, but they had an accessible sticker, an accessible placard, whatever the case may be, and this person did not. And the person who arrived with the accessible placard, the accessible plates, I don't know whether it was a placard or a plate, gave this woman some shit about parking in one of these handicap accessible spots. And she's making the video saying, and the person called the police and everything else. And she's making the video saying, listen, nobody is here, and I'm with my kids, so I want to park as close to the park as humanly possible. I'm not hurting anybody. And I made a video saying if I showed up to that park and nobody else was there and you were parked in the handicap spot, I probably wouldn't give you any shit. I probably wouldn't even say anything to you. If I was at the park and there were other people there and there were people that were looking for accessible parking and you were taking up one of the spots, yeah, I'd say something to you. But at the end of the day, I think it's incumbent on all of us who do not need handicap accessible parking to not park in those spots, no matter if there are people there or not. And one of the perspectives I brought to the video was, imagine that you're that person who needs the accessible parking, and they arrive to the park and they see that you're not, that you don't have a placard, you don't have a sticker, you don't have the license plate, and what goes through their head is it's everything outside of that situation, right? It's every time they show up to a grocery store or a big box store or a movie theater or a club or a concert venue or a restaurant, and they need accessible parking, but somebody has taken that accessible parking up. Or worse yet, they haven't taken the accessible parking, but they've taken the striped area next to the accessible parking where the vehicles need that area to be able to load and unload wheelchairs and whatnot. This thought, this flashing back, this flood of thoughts comes back into their head of, God damn it, why can't you people just not park in our spots? And this person, who is on my side, brings up a point that I think we need to touch on. I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's bold to assume, to look at someone and think you can tell whether or not, I don't know why I said assume there, tell whether or not they are handicapped. There are many disabilities that are invisible. I agree completely. To look at somebody and assume that they're handicapped or not handicapped is wrong. But that's not what happened here, and that's the point. She isn't handicapped. She doesn't need accessible parking. She doesn't have accessible plates. She doesn't have an accessible placard, and she admits to as much. And then the woman gives her shit. Hey, you're not supposed to be parked there. Hey, you're parked there. Do you have a placard? Do you have a No, I don't. There was nobody here, and I'm with my little kids, and they didn't want to walk very far. So the person didn't look at anybody and assume they were or were not. The woman admitted that she's not. And so therefore, I think that the person that showed up to the park was well within their bounds by saying, listen, man, these spots exist for a reason. They exist because certain citizens in society need to be more accessible and close to the door than other people. There are handicap accessible parking spots, there are veterans only accessible parking spots, and there are expectant mother accessible parking spots in our communities here in the southwest suburbs. And they exist for a reason. So nobody was guessing or judging or assuming anything. She openly admitted to somebody that she did not have permission and does not need to use accessible parking, but did so anyway because she didn't want to walk far with her kids.